Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, right? That's no joke. That's no joke. Oh my goodness. I love it. Yeah, right? That's no joke. Ooh, who's echoing? Is that you? Am I echoing on you?
Yeah, it's me.
No worries. All good? There we are. Oh, look at us. We are live. Welcome back to the Crazy Crafter, everyone. My name is Colin Bressy. Here we are on Sunday, October 4th. We're into October already. That is crazy to believe. I'm joined again by Michael from Not One Videos. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Um, Definitely looking forward to this week. We've got to catch up on some builds that we've done this week. What else do we got? We're whatever projects we're working on today. Um, I know Michael's got he's back to work on the big diorama that he and I are collaborating on. I see him plotting out those 1 inch grids right now. um, and then for me this week, I kind of wanted to see if I could tackle my uh, unfinished minis here. I've got a couple skeletons that I need to finish finish working and painting on. So that's what I'm gonna try and tackle this week. I'm kind of excited to see how far I can get on these. And then we should have another couple. I know. Like I said, Chris Fort from Might and Magic will be stopping by at some point today and hanging out with us. And then who knows? We may have a couple other folks from the chat stop by and try to log in and join us and show us their builds, what you guys are working on. Always excited to see what you guys are building out there in the community. What besides this massive project that you're undertaking, Michael? What else have you been working on this week?
So this week, all week, well, for the last couple of weeks, I've been working on a piece of terrain
Yeah.
for my tiny house that I built not so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was challenging.
Mm.
I was supposed to release it. I wanted to make the video for that for last Wednesday,
Yeah.
and I still haven't finished everything. So it's well overdue, but I will have it released tomorrow.
Okay.
I've got all of the build done. I've got all of the footage of the build done. I just need to edit it, so I'm going to be up late tonight.
Yeah, you got a late night. I am definitely I'm gonna be I'm gonna be up late tonight too. I've got my build video from this last week that I have updated and or updated. When I say updated, I mean it's it's ready to be edited. All the footage is shot except the introduction and kind of the outro. But I've edited approximately 0% of that episode, and it will debut tomorrow morning. So, cheers to late nights. Cheers to
Right.
late nights. Get rid of
Literally
this.
about 25 minutes
Golly.
before we did this live stream, I finished the intro for my thing, and it's probably my coolest intro yet.
Oh, nice.
So my nephew Jammy Jam, who's in the chat there,
Yep.
was apparently very hard to hear me. I might turn my microphone up a bit.
Yeah, turn it up. Turn it up.
But yeah, Jammy Jam came over, and so let's see, microphone level, input volume. Let's go higher, higher, higher. Is this any better?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Give us a test there, everyone. Thanks for the
No,
heads up.
that's much better, isn't it?
Oh yeah, look at you.
There we go. So thanks to Daniel for pointing that out.
Yeah, yeah. Good looking out. Good looking out.
Anyway,
Um,
all I was saying was that the intro for tomorrow's build was quite a lot of work in itself, just the intro.
right.
Um, Myself and Jamie were doing that this afternoon, and it's really funny. It's just a bit of a joke, but it's really funny. It's fun.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, and we'll get to check that out. Um, yeah, we'll have to see what you guys cooked up now. You guys been doing some really cool stuff with the videos, and they're looking really good. So I'm digging all the work you guys are doing with it. Um, let's see what else we got. So for this week, this last week, I'll give you guys a little bit of a preview of my build and what I was working on this week. Since you guys are here tuning in, I wanted to build a couple months ago. I've talked about it before. I built some dioramas for my party members in the campaign we're playing on, and one of the members is from an ice area within the world, and I decided to try and create some ice scatter terrain because when I was doing this video, I was looking for different ways to make icicles. So I didn't have any of the icicles. I'll have to put a link in the description once I post the video. And this is we're done recording. The Crafting Muse created a really cool video on some ice scatter terrain, and she was using these little icicles from just like holiday decorations, but I didn't have any of those, so I was just like, well, what if I took toothpicks and stabbed them into the foam or whatever I was working on, and then used a ton of hot glue. So from that, I tried that out, and it worked pretty well. So I kind of wanted to go back and show just that process. Like once you put that down and you base coat it and you dry brush it, it looks pretty cool, and you can get some pretty neat icicles, I thought. I also brought back the blowtorch because why not? And kind of tried to create that thin ice look this week. So that's kind of the build. And then also in that diorama I made an igloo, and I kind of made that was a ton of fun, and I wanted to play around more texture. So I really like the hot glue to create this ice effect. The hot glue ice effect is pretty cool. Um, it turned out pretty cool. So I was like, oh, it needs more. What's more menacing than adding a few citadel skulls on your build? So this one's layered like the lip of the entrance of the little igloo with skulls. So turned out pretty neat. The build that video will get posted tomorrow morning, and I'll be sleeping fiercely when it previews because I'll have stayed up all night trying to edit the darn thing. So.
I'll watch it. I'll be live for watching.
Yeah, I would like to say I would be live in the chat when it premieres, but that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna be asleep. So this week I've got these skeleton minis, and I'm excited. I'm excited to finish these guys off, or at least try to. These are the final product from the last time I painted the first couple. They came out really well. These are a couple of skeleton figures that I built on Hero Forge. There's another one right here for you, bud. You can check them out. Came out pretty good.
Do you mind holding it up just right up to the camera? That one that you got in your hand right now.
Yeah. Let's see if it'll do it. It's the HD one doesn't autofocus. Can you see it?
It's better on the camera that's in front of the mat.
Let me do that here. Let me do that one then. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool, right? This one's looking pretty cool. So I definitely had a blast making these on Hero Forge, and then a couple buddies of mine, we went in on a 3D resin printer a while back. So we printed these like a year ago, and I've had them on my shelf for a year, which is pretty good. I know other folks are like, oh, a year, that's young in its age and shelf life, sitting there unpainted. So anyway, that's what I'm working on today. I'm gonna try to tackle these guys and see how far I can get. Let's Let's see.
So that I'm very jealous of your 3D printer.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I need more time to utilize it. Like it's been a while. For a while there, we were cranking minis out, and we definitely we definitely were utilizing it daily, and we've kind of slowed it down a little bit. It's busy. We've replaced the. It's got a new vat, new plastic vat on it for or in the resin vat. Switch that out. It just needs to be re-zeroed, and man, that thing's gonna be it. It's like 10 minutes away from being operational again, and I need to fire it up and start making some more stuff. Because who doesn't want more stuff to paint? Who doesn't want to expand their mini collection?
So are you thinking about doing actual terrain on it, or is it mostly just for minis?
I mean, I've looked at that. Like, there's some cool stuff that I'd love to, especially Thingiverse. Thingiverse has a ton of stuff where you can jump up there and really get a. You can find a lot of terrain. You can find a lot of terrain on Thingiverse. It's pretty awesome. Um, so I'm excited to try, and maybe one of the next prints I do is that. You have to get really good at like the builds and supports for it. I use Chitabox for mine, but like for some of those larger pieces of terrain, right? You gotta like hollow out the build and like figure out like where you hollow and put the supports like within. There's some really good. There's some really good resources out there. Maybe that's another thing I add. I have to write that down and add it to the description. There's a YouTuber out there, and I cannot remember his name, but he's got a ton of tips. Chitubox support for the system. So basically his channel is devoted just to using this type of printer and this type of software, Chitubox, and he's got all the pro tips. So link, yep, that's a good one. That's a good one to throw down there too. Well, in
Pretty much ready to start gluing once my hot glue.
glue away. You know, again, I'm ready for I'm ready for for anyone out there, as you guys are watching, if you're building and you're building anything, I don't care what it is. It can be minis. I was having a chat last night with someone on the Facebook group, Michael. One of the things that I'm really excited about this channel is getting other folks from the community in our live stream and how we can go about getting folks in. And I want to see what they're working on and what they're building, because it's pretty fantastic. All the work, I'm blown away, and I know like we're messaging each other back and forth. Chris is always messaging me stuff saying, "Man, you got to check this guy out on Instagram or check this person out there." It's fun to see the work that's out there, and not all of the great work is just being done by YouTubers. They're content creators. There's just folks that just love the hobby. I was amazed last night, right before I went to bed. Someone was like, they were describing their the practice in the hobby, and they're like, "Man, I don't have anyone to play with. I don't know, but I like this hobby, and I build all this terrain." And the group was like, "There's tons of people to connect with on and play the game." And there were like other people have moved away, and like they have wife and kids and life, and then like they're like, it's hard to find time to play. And then like the rest of the group was like, "Yeah, that's all of us, dude." Like there's plenty of people that you could reach out to and play with. So, and then go ahead.
It's easier to play online, to find people to play online, but to play a live game, it's probably a little harder to find people. I would say.
I would say so. Yeah, but all that to say, like, it's nice to see again. Like, there's another reason why the community is so awesome. People rallying behind someone. You can keep doing your thing, and if you want to play, you can play. You'll find people. There's tons of forums out there for folks to get together and to play. But in addition to that, I've had other people that I posted in the Tabletop Crafters Guild, I was like, hey, come join the stream, share the work, share your builds. Like, what are you working on? And a couple folks are like, oh, I haven't worked anything in a while. Like, I've just got one, yeah, working on something in the garage. I'm like, I don't care what it is. Stop by and show a previous build. It can literally be anything you want. So I'm excited again for as this stream continues to grow and as this channel continues to grow. I'm excited to see what you guys are building out there. We're always going to share and be building. I promise you, we'll always be working on something because that's just how crazy we are. We're trying to always be building and improving upon stuff. Michael's really upping his game with this crazy build that he's doing right now. I love it, and I cannot wait to see it. And I'm going to get to see it in person and work on it. So that's going to be particularly exciting for me. That being said, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
The hard part is going to be sending this to you.
Yo, yeah, yes.
I'm not having painted it myself. I'm just gonna be like, oh.
It's gonna be yeah. You're gonna like build the baby and you're gonna send the baby away. You're gonna be like, bye, baby. Oh, I don't know what to do. Oh my goodness. Nice, good. I've spent this whole time chatting, and I've done approximately 0 painting. So I'm gonna start painting, and then again, if you all are interested in joining up, just let me know. Send me a message in the chat, and then or you can send a message. It will probably work better if you send an email to. I'll put it in the chat here too, but crazycrafterchannel1983@gmail.com. If you're interested and you want to join the chat and share your builds and hang out for a little bit, tell us what you're working on, talk about the hobby a little bit, just message me. And there is our first person. Look at that. Daniel West, right? Here he comes. Daniel West is coming in. He's been a huge supporter of the channel for since its inception about 6 weeks ago. So we're about to have Daniel join us here.
Awesome.
Supporter of the channel for since its inception. Oh, there you are. Daniel, join us here. Oh, there you are. You have to mute that, otherwise that's gonna go crazy. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. So. Muted YouTube. I think we tried that out.
Yeah, it's all good. You are welcome.
Hello.
Look at.
And so, you were on a 10-second delay, right? So I just time traveled, right?
You did time travel. This is amazing. It's probably gonna wig you out if you're able to like watch it and do it all simultaneously. It's gonna trip you out. So that's gonna be great.
I believe it. Thanks for inviting me.
Dude, this is awesome. Thanks for joining. So,
welcome to my garage. It's super messy.
That looks. I was just gonna say I was admiring his space, Michael, because it looks way cleaner than my space. Like my garage and like crafting space is way messier than that.
We call it a creative space, right? It's where my wife does her stained glass and where I do all of my hobby stuff, and it's actually my son's classroom during distance learning.
Yep.
It's a big hot mess in here. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Stained glass sounds cool.
Yeah.
My wife started a couple years ago, and so we just like any hobby, we just keep spending money and bringing things into the house, and
as you should. Yeah. How long ago has she been doing stained glass now?
I think she started. I think it's about 2 years at this point.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any ever? I mean, I don't want to like show her work without her permission, but is there anything laying around there?
In the room currently, the only thing that I could show, I would probably mess up if I moved.
Okay. Well, don't mess it up.
All of the nice things end up in front of our windows.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, don't. We don't want to mess it up. We don't want to mess up anything that's in there, but. This is fantastic. How so? What have you have you been crafting? Have you been building terrain for your games? Because I know you play. I know you play. I know you've been playing, but like, how have you been building terrain at all?
So, uh, frankly, watching this channel, uh, like it got the itch going, right? So I hadn't really built anything in a long while,
Okay.
and I don't build a lot for my D&D game,
Okay.
but I've played war games for a long time, like well longer than I've played Dungeons and Dragons,
Okay.
and so I started building stuff for my Frostgrave game, and I don't think I sent you a picture of anything painted thus
No.
far,
No.
but I don't know if that'll show up or
Oh, look at that. That's pretty. That is. Look at that. You didn't send anything painted. That's painted up now, yeah?
yeah, I got a little
Dude.
paint on it, and so and that light is too bright, unfortunately.
No, it looks good. That looks good there.
Exposure's right is tough. But yeah, so I was working on getting something that would be functional on the wargaming front. Um, Sort of like the effort to reward ratio, trying to figure that out right. So you
Yep.
get that sorted out, and I like it so much I've actually started on my second one. It's going. Started cutting that out last night.
Dude, what are you using to cut it out?
So on Mark One, I spent a lot of time with the X-Acto knives. I had like one of those extendable knives. I was doing all of that stuff.
Yep.
And then about an hour into cutting and like layering on my foam and all of that, I kind of realized I had a bandsaw. And it was like, well, you fool, you own a bandsaw. Just take it over there.
Just
so
use the bandsaw.
that's how I've been doing most of this stuff. And so, like, for example, on the railings, and it's the same sort of method you would do if you have access to the Proxon. I took my railings and we don't get like the really, I mean, you know this, we don't get access to the really cool thick foam in California.
Right.
The XPS.
Right.
But I was able to just take the hand railing, cut it all out of a single piece of foam, and then rip it in half so that I had two symmetrical edges on my hand railing.
Brilliant.
And then, and unlike Mark 1, I'm leaving those off until I can actually put some texture on the top, because there's no texture on the top, because I had all these dumb hand railings in the way, which was problematic. But,
well, it's like that, and this is the first. This is your first dive into the foray of XPS foam building. Is that my understanding? You've never built anything before?
No, I've cut foam before.
Okay.
Definitely cut a lot of foam before. So I teach technical theater classes.
Yep.
And I specifically teach an intro to scene design class.
Oh, nice.
And somewhere along the line, I started stealing terrain making techniques because I watched, I watch all the guys, right? Like
right.
I watched Black Magic Craft, I watched the Tabletop Witchcraft, Wylock. I like those are like my daughter and I used to like do bedtime by watching making stuff. Like she wanted to watch making stuff videos.
That's a good bedtime routine.
And somewhere along the line, I realized that these were just the same things. And so I actually teach a lot of D&D terrain techniques in my classes now.
Nice.
I actually taught my professor in grad school how to make foam stairs out of XPS, which is like the big Ulta knife, and cutting the things in scale.
Yep.
And I think they're teaching that at Chico State
because of you.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that is like I think something that I thought back to. I was like, when did I start playing around with foam, and when did I start messing around with it? And mine was dollar store foam core. I never really messed with XPS until I started.
I got piles over there,
yeah, but that, like, I totally, in undergrad in the scenic design class, you build your set, you design your set. So I working on a miniature scale is always it's been around. It's been around us, like having been in the theater. It's always one of my favorite parts of the rehearsal process. You know, typically that first day, the design presentation of all the designers at that first initial read through, and you get to see the set for the first time, and like even on that miniature scale, it gives you helps create that world right off the bat,
Right.
and
You get the scope of the play, you get the
yeah.
feeling of what the style is going to be. You sort of, yeah,
And
you
you know,
jump for sure.
same for the tabletop too. When you're playing, like that's one of my things that I always appreciate for the tabletop. Whenever I can throw a piece of terrain down, or when I've worked, because I've talked to my the Richard who runs our games. There's been a couple of times where I've asked him. I was like, okay, we know we're gonna have a huge encounter and it's coming up, and I've coordinated with him, and I'm like, okay, well, what are the things that you need at this encounter, and like trying to build it. And one of the things we did was we had an encounter at the melted dragon, I believe was the name of the inn, and it was it was 3 levels of this ale house and inn. It was massive, and it had a hole in the middle of it, and he was like, it needs to have holes in the middle of it, and I want playable at every level. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. So all I did was I created just the boards for each level. Like created the boards for each level, cut the hole, and it got smaller as it went up. And then on the board, instead of having it all stacked and like wobbly, we just had here's level 1, here's level 2, and here's level 3 on the board. But I feel like the way that encounter went, and we were fighting an air genasi, and that air genasi like I ended up grappling that character, and I didn't know what it could do, and I was like, haha, I grapple you, and he's like, haha, I can teleport to the the ethereal plane or up high, and like ended up dropping me 60 feet up in the air, and then like I'm falling through. So I liked that. Like I thought that was a pretty cool. Had we not built the terrain for that encounter, we would have been, you don't need anything to play the game, but it just added, it's just another theatrical element that you can incorporate into the game.
I love that. I love having very specific maps for my games.
Yeah.
Um, and I do a lot of digital stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I think everybody's doing the digital stuff now. But even before that, we were experimenting right before we quit with the television in the middle of the table.
Oh, nice.
Thing. And I was flexing my projection designer muscles on that a little bit, and I'm probably only the dungeon master in the world that was using QLab. I don't know if you're familiar with that software.
You had music and sound effects on standby.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, using different layers of my projection design to like mask off different areas of the room so you can only see certain
That's cool.
parts, and that's how we closed our Lost Mines of Phandelver campaign with my friends.
Epic. Now, Michael, are you using? Are you guys? Are you? So you're in a much different place than we are right now, as far as being like quarantined. Are you guys playing in person?
No, we're all playing on Roll20.
Okay, you're playing on Roll20. So you guys are still, you're in the virtual world too. Is there how's the Roll20 experience been for you guys? Like using the virtual table. That's another great question. Like what is everyone using? You're using Roll20, Michael.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I actually haven't used anything other than Roll20 apart from whenever I played on live tabletop.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have told me about other platforms that are good, and I kind of always thought about giving them a try, but you have to learn how to do it and spend time to do it.
That's the big key, right? The time.
The thing is, Roll20 has got a whole bunch of really cool stuff like dynamic lighting and fog of war and all of these things. And also, if you spend a bit of time on your maps, you can use animated GIFs and stuff to bring it to life. And also, in Roll20, all of the sound effects, just like you were saying, we have music and sound effects. Although, like Lucy, my wife, who's a DM, she she doesn't really use that. But if I do the DMing, I would spend a bit of time coming up with trap sounds and different things like if there was a battle with goblins or something, I've got like goblin noises in the background, that sort of thing. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's go ahead, brother.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's amazing how much the virtual tabletop experience, or like the online experience, has evolved just in the past like 6 months, and what everyone's capable of doing and what everyone's working on right now. Um, we've been playing on Foundry virtual tabletop, and when I say we, I mean our DM. Our DM is like, he's yeah, he's got his own channel. He's a professional DM who, he's running games like he's running games that people are paying him to run now. Like he's next level. We're not worthy, and we're very lucky that we get to play with Richard. But he, for the first time this last game, did isometric tabletops, where it looked like Baldur's Gate from back in the day. Like it looked like you were playing that type of setup, or like for modern view, like a Divinity or Divinity 2, like that kind of setup. And we created we went back to Hero Forge, because Hero Forge on Monday or Tuesday of last week, I think it was Monday, released their 2.0, so you can do color prints now, which is problematic, because I was like, oh, now I want to test this out, and it did. So I already ordered something because I'm ridiculous. But we took those links, we recreated our characters from Hero Forge, or really just added color, and then he was able to take those links and snap pictures in like the right pose, and then he turned those into our tokens. So now we literally in our games have the tokens from Hero Forge that we've created placed into these 3D map environments, and it was
3D.
Huh?
3D.
Well, it places on the map, and it's just like the above camera view, or depending like where they set the map. I'll try to find an example in a picture. I think I only took a picture of like one. I don't have a good example of the 3D map environment. He changed it up, rather than just it being the overhead flat tokens moving across and around the grid, to give it a different experience. This one's not fair, and it's not going to do it justice, but I'm going to try. Let me find it here.
So Daniel, I did say nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice to meet you as well, sir. Nice to meet you.
I saw you in the chat last week, but good to put a face to the name, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a blast. I don't have, man, I'm so bummed I didn't take a screenshot of it. The only one that we got was Chris Fort. But he's just using different images, and he's actually pulling images from in-game. You can see the 3D characters in this one, where, if you can see it up there, where we come across this giant dragon, right, for scale in-game, right? And then, if you look at it, I'll try to zoom in here, but we have the 3D characters that are, like, in the environment. So to, like, give us a scope and a scale of what we found, like, it's that experience. So he went from this just basically the overhead dimensional view to, I felt like it felt a little closer to like the actual tabletop this last Friday, which I thought was amazing. So pretty cool.
And the isometric is just that's a feature inside of Foundry. Is that right?
That's a good question for Richard. We'll have to ask him. Yeah. I believe it is a feature. I don't know if it can be built within Foundry or if it's just compatible with it and you build it separately.
Sure. I'll check. That's pretty cool. I've been doing the Roll20 thing too, mostly because it's the first one I heard about.
Yeah.
And we were all desperate to just keep the game going, right?
Yep.
When we had to gets shut down. At this point, I don't know if I can switch over just because I've built so many assets.
Right.
You know, you start doing that work.
Well, and that's the whole point of it. It's it just depends. Welcome, Chris Fort. Hi, buddy. We've got Daniel West in here visiting. He showed us. He's sharing his build from this last week. He's working a couple bridges. Check these things out, man.
Nice.
Look at those.
Hold on, I'm gonna end that because I got Colin's face. Oh, that's amazing, man.
My face is glorious. You can keep that pinned. They look amazing. He took it a lot of that bandsaw. He's got access to a bandsaw. So, what's better than a hot wire cutter? Bandsaw. Cut through that stuff no problem. But we've been discussing the different programs that we've been using to play D&D online, and I was just telling him, and I just shared the picture of the one you screen captured the other day when we were in game, when we all you guys turned the corner and you found this giant dragon, but it wasn't as a good example of the isometric maps that Richard was making. We were just talking about the 3D characters that we're able to put in game now. What about the question was the maps? Do you remember if Richard was making those maps in Foundry, or was he using a separate program to create those and then import them into the game? Do you remember?
I imagine he's making those in a separate program.
I would
or
too.
Potentially even just finding them somewhere.
Right.
A lot of people put those things out all the time.
Sure.
I don't think you make anything in Foundry, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
There is a great program called, I say great, it's a little bit buggy, but I made some maps in a program called MapForge. You download it and it's quite nice.
MapForge.
Yeah, if you go to if you actually go to the MapForge website on the place where they're selling a specific type of map, the map that they use is I built that map.
Oh, nice.
So
nice. So is that something that can you send me that so I can link it later?
Yep.
That would be awesome. I'd love to check that out. Oh my goodness, hold on. I've got Richard's check your YouTube chat. Oh my goodness. Look at you. Richard Quiner is in the chat right now. I don't even know he's in the chat. And he's check your YouTube chat. I'm trying, man. I'm painting. We got people on here. The RPG Daily himself is here. He's here. Isometric view. Nope. This is what Richard's saying. Look at him. He's all omnipotent. He knows we're speaking about him. Foundry allows the community to make it on modules for different functionality, and one community member is making an isometric tool set. He had to pay $5 on Patreon for early access to the tools. That's pretty dope. So that's pretty cool. What a cool feature. That's cool. For making maps, he added assets as tiles in Foundry so he can piece the scene together in the virtual tabletop. Dope. Super cool.
Oh yeah, I'm just checking that I've subscribed to RPG Daily, and I am. So
yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed to the RPG Daily, Richard Quiner's channel on YouTube, it's a great resource for anyone that's. It doesn't matter if you're a dungeon master or a player. There's tons of information on the channel. I utilized I utilized his build last week, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it's Richard's thing, but I got to help Richard out with a really cool project last week, and I totally went back and referenced videos for the player the player combatant that I rolled up for his new fantasy fight club setup that he's got going on. So I went back and watched some monk stuff, and I was I got to figure this out. So it's a good resource, and you guys should definitely head on over and check it out. Cool. What are you? Let's see. So Daniel, Chris is probably like I don't know. I think Chris is like one of the better mini painters that I've come across as far as he showed me a bunch of stuff online and there's some really good folks out there, but his stuff is really cool. He's got an Etsy store where he sells the minis, but I think he kind of went above and beyond with this latest project. Do you have that thing on standby, man?
You talking about the Taras?
Yeah, I'm talking about that crazy Taras. That thing is dope. You gotta show everyone this Taras. You're gonna lose your mind. I lost my mind when he showed it.
I don't know how it'll come out on this video. Probably would have been better if I had like. Yeah, this is gonna be real tough. But basically, you can see better pictures of it on Instagram, I think. So
it looks dope.
The edge type fitting is great.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a fire, kind of like burning off the base. So yeah, this is not gonna show real well.
I think the source lighting totally reads though. That's fantastic.
Yeah. No, it came out. I mean, I'm definitely proud of it. It looked like really good when I was doing it, and the final product because I don't do a lot of source lighting, or at least I haven't done a lot before. So this one, very happy with the way it came out. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. It's it's definitely like hard to appreciate. We'll have to find a way to. Well, is it up in the store yet?
It is in the store.
Great.
Yeah.
So we can.
Store, it's probably. I mean, Instagram too. I mean, I'm sure all you guys are on Instagram. If you go to my feed, it's relatively recent. You can see it there. There's some good. The photos are much better than what you can see on here. So
nice. Yeah. We'll be sure to link it in the description once we get this thing up and running. It'll be pretty amazing. Let's see. I might even be able to do it.
What are you guys working
here
on today? You have anything specific going on? Is everybody doing something different or what?
Same as last week for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, desperately trying to finish that build. Have you figured out like what are you encountering right now? You mentioned something as you were building it. You told me you were going to come across.
The thing is about make dungeon tiles. You can make 3-inch tiles, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And stick them together. But whenever you're making a bigger bit of terrain, you've got this problem where if you want to include walls in the build, you can't just lay down a 1-inch grid because you're going to lose half an inch where your walls are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so then you're in a position whenever you're trying to do something where you want to have the grid system, but you also want to have walls. You're having to map out, okay. So, but I mean, to be honest, my brain started to just get too sore with trying to figure out. So I'm just gonna just put it all, and then just do build the grids around the walls, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that'll work.
Rather than pre-plan it, I just like, right, okay, I'm gonna have this room's gonna be 4 inches by 5 inches. Then I'll put a 1-inch wall in, or half-inch wall in, and then I'm gonna put in more things. But there's, I think it's Wylock has got a system where he does 1 1/4-inch tiles instead of 1 inch. So that he can specifically have walls that slot right in.
That's cool. I haven't.
That's one of his first videos, actually. I think is dealing with
really?
that 1 1/4 square. Yeah, it's a good system.
I mean,
you're kind of committing yourself to it once you do it, right? Like,
yeah.
Nothing one is ever compatible ever again.
I was just saying, like, once you do that, like, it's game on, Holmes. Like, you're all in, which is cool, and I don't know, like, I feel like, I don't know, for me, I did I think the only gridding I did were with my tiles when I made those way back when. And then from there, everything else, I'm like, it's it's pretty easy to count the space with your figure as you're moving. If you know it's the 1 inch base, and it's easy to track movement without the grid. So it's just one other thing. I was just like, less math for me, which is always a plus in my world. So I can go a little bit quicker and a little bit faster without having to worry about it. But like Michael's efforts right now. There is a cleanliness and also a uniform look to having that grid system on whatever terrain you're building, though, too.
He looks super focused too. He's like,
dude,
forget everything else.
He has to be. Like, he's trying to get that thing. He's trying to get that thing.
I want to hear from him. So I probably like dip out of the meeting soon so that you can get your professional DM friend in.
Well, no, he's good. Like, he's we'll have Richard on another day. I was trying to see if like he was like. I think right now he said he's just having fun listening to us. He's running, he's doing some chores, and he's chilling. So you stick around, Daniel. There's other folks, like, if they want to join, they have the email. So you stick around as long as you want, brother.
Do you mind if I show off the other thing that I craft actually for my
Please,
that's. I want to see these.
I want to see it all, man. Bring it out.
So, I mean, like we all paint minis and stuff, and I've actually started doing a lot more paper minis. But one thing that I mean, because I'm a teacher as much as anything else, I'm pretty insistent that notes get taken. You know what I mean? In my games, I want people to know what's going on, and so I'm also like a really big fan of like digital fabrication.
Yeah.
That's like one of my niche little like focuses.
So what is digital fabrication? What is that, Daniel?
So pretty much anytime when I can like design something in my computer and then walk up to a machine and push a button and have it do something for me.
I love it.
Right?
Love it.
So I teach students how to use CNC machines. So like we've got a large CNC in my theater. Laser cutters, 3D printers, that kind of thing.
Dude.
And that's as much to satisfy my itch to do that as to make it a necessary like theater skill.
Of course.
I like to make personalized notebooks, and that's something that I've been doing in the
Oh, that's rad.
COVID.
Holy crap.
So this is actually just a Walmart notebook, like a spiral notebook that I took the normal cardboard cover out and then took Luan plywood, like 3mm ply, and carved this. And it's a symbol that I found online. This one is for my son's druid, and he's going to get this soon.
Oh.
And then it probably won't show up, but since druids
awesome.
Druids can change their spells every single time they take a long rest. I provided the entire list of druid spells on the inside.
So cool.
So that always have that as a resource.
So cool.
I'm pulling it up again.
Oh, sure. So this is the front, and it's just a spiral-bound Walmart notebook. And then on the inside cover, I also very lightly etched the entire like player's handbook version of the druid spell list.
So cool.
It's wood, the cover?
Yeah, it's 3mm ply. Yeah.
Awesome.
With a black cover. So like that's like one example of the notebooks that I make, and then
real quick, you knew how to grab Michael's attention to stop him. You mentioned wood carving. He was like, "What?" Snapped. He was like, "Wood carving!" Oh, he got all excited.
Well, so like this one isn't wood carving. This is actually just a prefabricated journal. And so for my war campaign, every player in my like covert ops war campaign thing, I found these sort of gray journals, and I found like a field report from British World War II on understanding how German lorries worked in tactical handling, and then I sort of redressed that to make it about the Miasma War, which is what we're fighting. And then on the back, I found I looked for fonts for all of my individual players, and sort of wrote these notes have been issued to, and this is my brother's for Donatella, because he has a turtle, so he named it after Donatella. And so I found a different font for every single one of them and printed that out and lasered that in.
Oh,
Were you able to laser that just straight onto the cover, the existing cover?
Yes, it.
Just like a real light setting.
Yeah, I messed up 2 of them. I bought a couple extras because especially when you're working with something that's not known to you, you mess up. You always mess up the first couple.
Yeah.
Mind if I ask you questions about the one on the wood one?
Oh, sure.
So, did you say that was lasered in?
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I have one more example of one of the lasered ones that I do. So this is sort of in the same style with the sort of symbol. This is another campaign that I have my brother in, and he's playing a rogue, and so we made this, and it's actually a full wooden journal where I cut a living hinge into it, so that there's a bunch of different slots in the wood, so that the whole piece of wood just folds and bends. And then this is the fanciest version I have so far of this. And then I took acrylic and cut a full acrylic sleeve for the front because he had never played a rogue before. So I found a cheat sheet of when you can use sneak attack, basically. And then when he's done with that and has that sort of down, well, I'm hoping to replace that with like an A5 version of the character sheet so that he can use dry erase markers to update his hit points and stuff.
I'm gonna need you to
next level, Colin.
I was gonna say, I'm just gonna sign over all the administration rights to Daniel, and he can take over the Crazy Crafter channel. Like Daniel's got it next level. I also need one of those. I also need one of those books so I can remember that I don't get 18 attacks around, and like how to actually play my barbarian.
Your flowchart will be like, "Did you attack already?" Yes. Okay, now you stop.
Yeah, that's just it. Like I'm getting there. It's only taken about 2 years, but I'm figuring it out. No worries. Don't worry about it. Those books are amazing, Daniel. And right now these are just ones that you've made for your players.
Yeah.
Dude.
So
you could 1000% set up that on Etsy and start selling those. Those are super cool, man. I love those.
That might be in the cards, but for
Should
me,
be.
just to start it, hey, I just want my players to take notes, right? So it's like a less than subtle hint, like, hey, I got this for you. Maybe you want to.
Where's it at?
During the game.
Yeah.
But then also it's just in line with kind of the things that I like to do. So, yeah, I've been making journals and things for my players.
What did you go to school for?
I teach technical theater. So
okay, because you strike me as somebody having like a design background.
Yeah, so I teach lighting design, I teach scenic design, and
like all these things are like things that I remember doing in a different capacity when I was going to school for graphic design, making interesting folders and no, like just like random. I guess you could call them crafting, but like, you know, they had a purpose, and it was certainly not D&D related then. But there's just so much of this like plan and execute that you have going on here that's very technical too.
Yeah, I like things to have an aesthetic, you know. I think that's the whole point of like the crafting and stuff, right? And even why we would go so far as to craft things specifically for our D&D game, because in addition to having it theater of the mind, we also sort of push like, no, but I actually want you to think of it looks like this. You know what I mean? Like I got it here. I want you to know that it looks like this.
Yeah.
Here too. So
speaking of how, like, this is a conversation I've had with Colin a couple of times. I see like so much amazing stuff just out there in the community, Instagram, all that stuff. People are really pushing the level of craftsmanship, but I constantly find myself sort of like wondering, like sometimes I see stuff and I think it's really cool, and other times I see it and I'm like, well, I think I would prefer more theater of the mind in this instance. And it's like, seems like there's like some people that go absolutely nuts and have like literally built out an entire city and all this stuff, and like, you know, on the one hand I think it's amazing, and on the the other hand, I'm like, wow, that really sort of takes a lot of the imagination out of the playing aspect. So I'm just curious if you've ever run into anything like that in your games where you're like, oh, I don't know that I want to go that far, or.
So I think I think there are lots of times when inside of my game, like when we're going shopping, we just sit on top of the map, right? You know what I mean? And we're interacting with people. We're just talking across the table.
Yeah.
But I said in the sort of the beginning of the stream that I come from a wargaming background, so I did. I did the 40K. I'm playing as much Frostgrave as I can with social distancing, and as well as I love the game War Machine, although it kind of went away. If you can ever find somebody who'll play that with you, find it and play it.
War Machine, okay.
Oh, War Machine by Privateer Press. It's steampunk robots punching each other. It's so much fun. But because I really like tactical combat, right? I really like using the grid and the spaces, and I want to make sure all of my monsters are fighting as optimally as possible when they're trying to murder my players. So I think for me, it's when we get into a combat setting that I want it very specific, and then the rest of the time, maybe a little bit loosey-gooseier. And that I think maybe part of that balance is also because there are only so many hours in the day. So if I'm spending a whole bunch of time prepping my combat, we'll just talk through this other part. But I don't know.
Well, I can see how the combat section too is a little more. If there's a lot of strategy involved, you do kind of want to know exactly how big things are, where obstacles lie, and line of sight, and all these sorts of things. So it makes sense to make that a little more detailed. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and
a lot of people, the reason why they end up with these big builds might be to do with the fact that just building is so much fun.
For sure.
I get that.
So where do you stop? I mean, maybe like for me, like I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm building, but my wife, for instance, she'd be much more into the theater of the mind stuff. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. I guess it's just an interesting thought exercise for me, because I don't know that there's any specific time where I'm like that I could point out knowing where I want things to stop. It's just sometimes I see things that are so crazy, and I appreciate it very much, the work and the craftsmanship that people have put into these things, and just how amazing they look and how fun it would be to play. And then sometimes I would think like, I guess I do also appreciate, one of the things I greatly appreciate about playing D&D is being able to use your imagination and kind of envision how things are going and what's happening and what things look like. So
right.
It's just an interesting sort of it's a new element, because when I played as a kid, we didn't have terrain. It was literally the battle mat, and the DM drew sort of the things that were maybe a few things in the shape of the room, whatever. But I never saw terrain until I started playing. With Colin and Richard, when we started up it's been about a year and a half or so now, 2 years. But I had never seen terrain before. I didn't even know it existed. So it's an interesting new.
I didn't either until Richard was just like, they're like, you can, because I bought that stuff from Dwarven's Forge, I think it is. I don't know if I'm getting it wrong, but they had a sale, and I was just like, oh, a sale, and then I dropped $50 for like a couple of large, like 4x4 tiles, resin tiles, and a bridge. And it was like $50, 57 with like shipping, and I was like, well, this is expensive. That's crazy. And then Richard was like, there's like a whole community that builds this stuff, and I was like, what? So when that happened, that's what it was new. It's new to me too. I didn't know about it until, again, kind of going about right around a year ago now that I've been building it. So that is. It's pretty wild. I put it out there in the chat. Like I'm trying to ask anyone out there, like, what do they prefer? Like, are they a little bit more into the physical tabletop where you've got some terrain laid down, or do they prefer a little bit more theater of the mind? So let us know. Let us know as we continue this discussion. But I've always enjoyed, like, well, now that I've done it, because, like, I think for me, especially after running a couple of one-shots, I struggled finding, I really want to create the world, that visualization. I'd printed up some maps that Richard had shared from a shared drive that you could just print out and lay down on the table, and those were okay. Those were great, but I really was like, I wanted the physical immersion of the players into the environment to help give them the the feeling I was going for.
Every time we've used terrain.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I'm trying to crap on it or anything.
Right, right.
Sometimes you see, like literally the entire table is built out with, like, multi-tiered city, and it's just, like, I find it super impressive, but also I'm like, wow, like, that would be, I've never played on it, so I don't know what it's like, but
right.
I do think, it's not so much that I hate it, so much as I'm just, I guess, sort of pondering, like, at what point do you lose the ability to imagine things as a player?
Right.
Jamie, I always get a question,
Go ahead, bud.
My question is always, what happens when they need to go to the big open field and they have their entire table covered in that city? You know, and I feel like in many ways when...
Oh, yeah. Sure.
What happens to the game when the DM has invested such an extraordinary amount of time to generate something? It almost feels like it might limit player agency, because you don't want to leave that room because they did so much work.
Yeah. That's what Richard's kind of echoing here in the chat, Daniel. He's saying he likes the terrain as long as it can be used quickly and effectively. And Jammy Jam in the chat is saying he likes both, but probably more so theater of the mind. I think everyone, like, I've thought the same exact thing you have, Daniel, as far as, like, if it can't be removed quickly, right? It definitely can slow the whole process up, and I think enough to, like, it's just like seasoning something, right? If you dump the whole bottle of seasoning in there, you're gonna ruin the dish. So, like, having a little bit to give you the flavor, right? To give you the flavor of the environment has definitely been cool. Because, like, the little things, like, I find that's what, the question I find myself asking all the time is what to build for the game. Like, what to build. As soon as we, started quarantine, I was like, cool, great opportunity to start building a bunch of stuff to stock up on. What do I build? What do I spend this time building? And why build that? And I find myself more often than not using scatter terrain than actual structures and buildings for that reason.
I do think that, I mean, the only reason I'm building this bigger one for you here is because it's going to make a cool video.
I hope so. I hope I don't mess it up. I'm like super nervous. I'm like, oh, don't mess the beautiful build up.
Yeah, once it leaves my house, man, it becomes yours, and you can do whatever you want with it.
It's the one you're sending to Colin?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So, I don't know if you know that, so he's building this multi-leveled diorama, Daniel, and then I had an old single-handed broadsword from back in the day. The blade's fine, but it's an older blade now, and I was like, like, it's die-tested, and it worked, like, there's no cracks in the tang, but I was like, I was like, I can send him that, and I had some spare parts from random stuff, and I sent it to him. So he's Michael's really he's an excellent wood carver, so he's gonna get to build the handle for this thing, and then he'll have his own single-handed broadsword over there, which will be fantastic. Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun build.
I've often considered doing fittings and handles and stuff for swords, but the metallurgy behind making a blade, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous stuff.
It is, like, there's all sorts of, like, there's a couple manufacturers in the United States. Well, there's one manufacturer that does it old school, where they forge it by hand, and by hand they have machines that help pound it out, but they're still heat treating and using just the traditional blacksmithing methods. Where now I know Rogue Steel, which you and I are both familiar with and we've used, where he is now not outsourcing his blades. He's making his blades, but he's got a CNC machine and he's laser cutting them, and they're all like, the blades will last. You have to be really negligent to like destroy these blades, so they're very high quality, but nothing sounds quite like the hand forged blade when you hit it on stage. Like, it just rings, man.
Yeah, and so this is not the live stream for that, but at some point I want to talk to you about those things.
Sure.
I've made a few of my own. Single-handed swords. Swashbuckly stuff using just parts off the shelf and and welded up some rapier hilts to throw an epee on them or something. But I want a broadsword. I want that in my life.
I think everyone wants a broadsword.
Right?
Everyone should have a broadsword. There you go. Everyone should have a broadsword. Jammy Jam, do you have a broadsword? Richard, do you have a Richard, you've got to have some sword laying around there. He's got something. I think he has he has to have something from Lord of the Rings. I think I've seen it. Maybe he doesn't.
I've got Glamdring from Lord of the Rings.
Nice. That's Gandalf's, right? Yeah, that's Gandalf's. Well, you're about to have two swords, dude. You're about to have two swords.
I am very really honestly.
All right, cool. You
guys follow a guy on YouTube called Shadiversity?
I've seen his stuff. Yes.
Shadiversity, I have not. Is this on you? He's on YouTube?
Yeah. So basically, his whole channel is basically talking about nerdy swords and medieval armor. I mean, he is literally the nerdiest guy on the planet. When it comes to medieval armor, he'll go and he'll basically debunk all of things like leather armor and studded armor. Would this really work? And But I watch a lot of it. But I actually sent him photographs of your swords to try and find out, is it what era it would be from, and just to see if I can actually do a carve that makes sense on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
If he can get back to me, I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'd probably do that anyway. But
he hasn't responded yet. Dang it. That'll be cool. That's a good idea. What a cool resource to reach out to and try to implement. It'll be, you can literally, like I said, do whatever you want. It's gonna look amazing. It's gonna be fun.
He's got over 1 million subscribers, so I'm not expecting to hear back from him.
Yeah.
But you never know. You might as well just put it out there.
Yeah, put it out there. See what happens. Richard says he doesn't have a sword. He says he's got LARP swords, but they're not as cool. And I was like, LARP swords are cool too. But I'm surprised. I thought he would have had. I thought he had a sword.
Actually, the quality of LARP swords has gone up tremendously over the years.
There's some really cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
There's some I mean, the Nerf weaponry is pretty dope, right? That you can get for the kids. It's amazing. Oh, so there's speaking of swords, I have to grab it one of these days. One of the armorers that I buy from, there's these cool swords, Michael. I don't know if I have to show it to you and see what it is. But a guy that I buy swords from on the East Coast, he sent my son a play sword, but the play sword is plastic and it's hard. But they look like actual forged swords, that have a little bit of age to them. And he's like, you can only get them in the UK. And I was like, dude, I just want these to play with these. I was like, where were these when I was a kid? But they're legit. If you hit with them, they will hurt. They're very hard plastic. They're not to be contacted with body to body. Anyway, fun swords. Gotta defend. I'm putting a sword on my wedding registry. That's good. Richard's fiance is gonna be so happy with us. That's I don't know if how that would have gone. My wife would have probably rolled her eyes at me if I'd have put that on a registry and halfway expected it, but.
Well, I think for you it'd just be another one.
Another.
Right? That would not be the response.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I've done really well. I have not. I've done some retail therapy in quarantine, but I haven't done that retail therapy. I've certainly thought about it, but I was like, nah, now is not the time. Now is not the time.
How's that skeleton coming along?
All three, dude. Like, they're coming. They're coming. I've got a few.
What are you working on right now?
Huh?
What are you working on?
So remember the skeletons that I printed like a year ago.
Oh yeah.
So they're coming. It's definitely, the way I've lit it in here. I tried to light it for, a live stream. I haven't necessarily lit my space for painting small minis, so the lighting has been really quite fun and challenging. Live and learn as you go along. A little better lighting for your workspace. But
I like to paint in the dark.
I don't like to paint in the dark. I just am willing to paint.
Your house, man. I painted there. You're like, shut all the blinds.
I don't shut the blinds. I don't shut the blinds. Only when they're like, the light is like beaming in. I'm like, go away, light. It's not like darkness. I'm not like huddled in the corner painting minis, Chris. Like, that's not what I'm doing. You make it seem like I'm like Nosferatu, like in the corner.
Pretty much. But I actually have been summoned away, so I'm probably going to dip out at least for a little while. If I don't come back, it was nice chatting with you, Daniel. Nice meeting you. And
nice to meet you as well. It was great.
Michael and Colin, I'm sure I'll see you guys again.
All right, brother. Thanks for stopping by.
I'm gonna say goodbye to you.
And little people pop up.
Oh yeah.
She's barely in the photo.
Her face is like perfectly positioned for the Tarrasque's face, which is kind of funny.
Henry Cavill Tarrasque.
Henry Cavill Tarrasque. Oh.
I'll catch you guys later.
Later, man. Oh man.
I actually hear my daughter screaming her lungs out.
Oh.
I was just sitting there feeling very grateful that my wife has let me do this.
Yeah, ditto on that. Well, like yeah, that's just it. My son is over. Chris is literally like our neighbor, Daniel. Like, he's next door, so like after a while in quarantine when our kids were separated for about like a little over like 4 or 5 weeks, we've been letting the kids get together to play, which has been nice. So Chris is
everybody's got a very small bubble.
Yeah,
you don't break your bubble.
Small bubble. And Chris, like, our son is over there right now, so thankful that, like, we get to send them back and forth, and they get to hang out and play. But our kids, I'm curious, like, because I know both you guys got kids, like, do they like to craft too? Are they enjoying crafting? Like, has that been something you guys have tried doing with them in quarantine? Like, what's been their response to crafting?
Please.
No, I said you go first.
Okay. My son, if it's not like made out of a Lego, he's probably not into it, right? If it's not like Swedish plastic or whatever that is, it's not his jam. But like I told you, my daughter loves making stuff videos. So she actually drew somewhere around here. Oh yeah. Last night, she took a piece of my scrap XPS foam and was explaining the city we had to make, very Ewok inspired, I think.
Nice.
And then this is her interpretation. I don't. If you're familiar with like the Critical Role stuff,
yes.
And at the end of the Critical Role theme song, which is one of her favorite songs, their artistic interpretation of Matt Mercer.
Nice.
holding the book open.
Nice.
This is her interpretation of that.
Love it. Love it.
And before she's at her grandmother's house because they go play on Sunday mornings over at grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
She as her parting shot said, "Tell them about the magnets and the moss because she is insistent because we watch Tabletop Witchcraft." And he uses a lot of magnets.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
She's insistent that I put some small magnets on this so I can, like, hang moss and, like, take the moss off and reveal gold or something.
That's cool. What a great idea. Look at that. Definitely the mind of a crafter and artist at work there. That's for sure.
Yeah, so she's pretty insistent that that happens. Well, we shall see. I do have the magnets here, so it may happen.
Yeah. Dude. I like that idea.
Yeah, she's definitely artsy. So just a matter of time before she starts building something in the shop.
Well, my daughter's 2, and it's basically just painting. But so we've got old wallpaper rolls, and we just roll them out and then let her paint away on the floor.
Nice.
The other day I was editing at the kitchen table and I got out all the paints and I put them on the floor beside her and I literally turned around for 2 minutes. I can swear to God it was only 2 minutes. And I looked back and she was stark naked and the whole floor and her were just absolutely covered in paint. So that's how creative I think. So great crop.
Kids are great.
Yeah. Yeah, they are definitely awesome. It's fun, like that's kind of like some of my favorite times is when they get to just sit down and work on whatever they want. Like I like sitting down and with the exception of like anything heavy machinery wise, he's got on the proc something, like a couple things. He's like, can I use this tool, Dad, for crafting? I'm like, no, that's a big, like, you can't use the giant Dremel. You shouldn't use the Dremel tool. We should, like, you can't use that, like, by yourself. He's like, okay. But, like, he likes he'll take, like, all the different objects. Like, I have, like, a little bit of everything. I have, like, beads. I have, like, a bunch of little things and knickknacks. He likes taking toothpicks. That's one of his favorite things. He'll take toothpicks and stick them into the foam and either create dragons or dinosaurs. Like he likes to create creatures with the toothpicks and the foam. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Great job.
Right? I think it's a cool thing to be able to encourage, creating something from nothing at an early age, and it doesn't matter, like, but he's getting to the stage now where he's starting to, like, judge it and worry about what other people are going to think of it. And I was like, don't worry about that. I was like, you just create. Like, make something.
That's super tough. Like, that's a tough transitional period. And it's something that I talk to my students about a lot, actually. Because, like, that's the like, he's rapidly reaching the point where he gets to decide whether or not he's going to be artistic or not.
Right.
Because it's like 3/4 of art is skill based, and most of I get a lot of students that say they can't draw or they can't do whatever artsy thing that we're doing, and mostly I think it comes down to somewhere around the time that they were like your son's age, they decided they weren't good at it, and stopped, and they didn't get the extra 10 years before high school to just practice and practice and practice and develop the skills. So,
right.
It's really important, I think, at a young age to encourage them to be kind to themselves. Yeah, and not hate their own work.
But I also think it's important for adults to do that too.
I was about to say, I agree, Michael, and I want you to talk more. I want you to talk more about that, because as we were just talking about the kids right now, it's something that is a comment that I see a lot on the Tabletop Crafters Guild. I see a lot of, this is my first time, like, just a lot of second guessing, like, this isn't that good, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like, it doesn't matter. You created it. The whole purpose of well, for me, one of the main purposes of the hobby is you're getting to create something for other people to experience. You are the act of it isn't it's essentially it's an act of love for the rest of the game and the rest of the party. You're trying to enhance the experience for other people, and I think that's the thing to that's so cool about the experience. Like, and I see that a lot. I see that a lot in the guild in the Facebook group where there's just a lot of second guessing and a lot of not negativity, but no one. I've never seen anyone be like, "No, this thing sucks." Like, no one does that on there. But a lot of people and the way they feel about the product they've created, they bring that to the group, and it's posted there, and I see that a lot.
I think it's an act of bravery to post in the first place.
Right.
Right. Like, I don't post a lot of things that I do, and actually I was really hesitant and nervous about even accepting your invitation because people are scary. Like, people are scary. So
Sure.
And judgment is one of the things I think as humans struggle with the most, which you've got like your MFA in acting, right?
Yeah.
So you've sort of committed yourself to that lifestyle of having people look at you and make determinations, but
Right. Well, as a
like,
teacher, you do that happens as a teacher though too, because you're constantly being judged as a teacher, so it happens for you too.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, for sure. But I think that it's important in communities to absolutely foster like encouragement for those folks that have the bravery to show something off.
Right.
100%.
This is what I did.
Right. I'm using the wrong brush right now for this. This is not going to go well, but I'm going to try it. Oh my god, that's too thick. Okay.
Michael, are you building another one of those rabbit joints?
Yes. The lids. So I'll show you what I've got so far if you're interested. So basically, so yeah, this front part pops out as well. So this is the main. This is going to be the main dungeon part.
Yeah.
With a couple of rooms in here and stairs coming down into it, and then I've created these little triangle joint things.
Yeah, that's a really clever piece of joinery. That's really smart.
And then the front. So then when I pack it and send it, I can just pop the front in like that.
Yeah.
So then you can see this line.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch the whole way around and cut it out, and then just.
Yeah, that's great.
The edges are going to bevel off, round them off, and kind of make them a little bit cliff-like. So I'm going to paint the whole outside of it kind of. Well, in my mind, that's the way I see it, like a cliff. I've just realised I'm going to send it to Colin to paint. Sure. I am going to do the whole base coat for you, though, Colin, with Mod Podge and black paint.
Ooh, bless you. That is, I'm spoiled because all I have to do is just it shows up and I get to paint it. That's amazing.
That's what I figured it. But I quite like the stage of painting the XPS foam black. I love the way it sort of unifies the whole thing, and then you can start to see it come together. And I'd like to at least do that stage, and then it goes in a box and it's coming to you.
Nice.
So
nice.
But yeah, so I'm just about to cut these now. See?
Dude.
Yeah, and you're just using the wood carving knife. That's a great tool. I should get something like that.
Yeah, I tell you what, like, if you guys haven't done it, you guys need to go over to Nat One Video's channel, and you need to check out learning a new skill within the hobby. So I just did it with an Olfa knife, which is not as easy with the carving tool, but I definitely feel like for me, I feel really comfortable with that knife, having used it for a year now. So I was like, you just go slow, and I don't think my cuts are as clean as I would be getting if I was using a carving tool. But you should totally try carving XPS, Daniel. It's another cool way to get a unique texture in your work.
Sure, I like that. I mean, as like I said, I do technical theater, and it sort of just reminds me of what we do in the theater, which is sort of just steal everything from everybody else.
That's right. That's right.
And something that's very cool about this crafting hobby is that nobody, like, in the ancient times of man, nobody was crafting Dungeons and Dragons terrain.
Right.
Right? And so all of this is an amalgamation of just people stealing different techniques from different places.
Right.
And the idea of, well, why aren't we using wood carving? Like, why aren't we using those tools that people have been able to make intricate, beautiful things for hundreds and hundreds of years using these tools? Why aren't we utilizing that? And so the fact that Michael has sort of had that epiphany and brought it forward, I think is great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always,
Michael's had success. I think Michael did it.
It is.
Oh, bravo, good sir. Bravo. That looks great. How does that feel? How does that feel right now?
I'm quite happy with it, to be honest.
Good. It looks awesome.
Yeah. So this will be playable. You set that on your top. You're gonna have your church and your graveyard up here, and then there'll be a catacomb. So there'll be a tomb that you're gonna be able to lift, and underneath the tomb there's gonna be a set of stairs. So then you can lift that tomb and just have it on if you want.
So cool.
Very cool.
So cool. Spoiled rotten is what I am. Spoiled rotten.
What is your intention? I mean, I understand, Michael, that you don't get to be the painter, but when you envision sort of the outside of the box, you were talking about sort of a rocky edge around that curvature, but when people are seeing the very outside of the box and just the church and the graveyard, what does that 4 inches of exposed side look like as far as what you're thinking?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, am I just painted black? I don't know. I guess it's kind of up to Colin where he decides to go with it. But I think that, I do think that, just having the outside as, stonework just makes it look cool. It doesn't mean that you have to play it as on top of a cliff. You know what I mean? You could play it as, you walk through a forest and you walk into a graveyard kind of thing. It's more just about the aesthetic of it looking, I don't know. I mean, but then again, you could maybe paint it to wood, to look like wood if you wanted to, or you could do anything you wanted, really. Really up to.
I'm just curious about it's aesthetic, right? Like, when you have this thing that's going to be present for part of it, how do you just ignore it, or do you utilize it in some additional way, right? Is that where you tell a little bit more story about the place, or allude to something, or what is the parts that we don't want to think about? Like, how do we think about them? The outside of the box, how does that become part of the narrative, or just another piece of beautiful something or other? I think it's interesting.
Yes, I mean, one of the things that I thought about was to put some writing around the edges or something, but then I'm just like, well then, I mean, it's like what Chris was saying about the theater of the mind thing, is it would be better, I think, that if this was just an average church graveyard build, and it does have a catacomb underneath, and then, I mean, you could use it for any number of different games then. Does that make sense? Rather than making it based around any kind of story or theme. I don't know. I mean, basically, I haven't really thought about it that much, to be honest. It's more just, wouldn't it be cool to have a church with a catacomb underneath? Let's just build it.
Sorry, I don't mean to be asking hard questions. You can just tell me to shut right up.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Because
I never really thought about it. So, yeah, I just think of things. This is going to be cool to make, and it is cool to make. So it's cool fun to make, and then if someone can use it, that's great. It's going to be cool. I'd be very curious to see if you actually end up using it in a game.
Oh, it's gonna get used. Don't worry. It actually, it's not. So it's kind of funny. The build these minis that I'm working on this week kind of revolve around a one shot that Chris and I have been talking out for a while, just to, like, play with our group. And it totally the build that you're sending this way will work perfectly for that. So, it's gonna get used, and I think now, especially now, I'm like, well, we just got to save it to where we can meet again in person. But I think there's gonna be more than one time when you can, utilize that terrain on the board for sure. That's another thing. Go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, it's Michael. Go ahead.
I was going to say is that, like, one thing that you could potentially do with it is, once you've got it, you don't even need the catacomb. You could just use this as a piece of scattered terrain, churchyard.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, 100%. 100%. See, it's just, and that's what I like about the build when you were describing it to me, Michael, is like the versatility of what it was. I was like, oh, that's multiple pieces and things that can come apart like that. You're going to be able to use more than once in game, which is something that I definitely think about on my builds. Like, can I utilize this more than once? Because you both know, like, what a labor of love, and everyone else does out there watching, what a labor of love it is to to build a piece of terrain like that. So I want it to get utilized many times, not just once.
I sometimes think there's also like a chicken or the egg sort of phenomenon that happens with this stuff. Like, I think that as soon as you get something that's as cool as that, it's coming up in your game. You may not know how, but you have that amazing, beautiful thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You're in the opposite side of the world, and there's no logical reason for there to be a church with that kind of graveyard there. They're going to stumble upon it. Like, that's happening, right?
Yep.
And especially now that we've been doing a lot of digital with my group, I scroll through so many digital maps and looking for a specific something or other, and then I realize, oh no, they're not going where I thought. Look at that amazing map. They're going there.
Yep.
Because that's a beautiful thing. And I think that same with what you're generating, Michael, is as soon as Colin has that in his hot little hands, it doesn't matter where they're at or what they're doing, they're gonna be in a graveyard.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Like, they have to be, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's happening. They're going to be in a graveyard, and they're going to be messed up. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on that thing. Oh, I wonder how long, like, what has it been? I guess it would have been, they didn't really give me a time frame on your package when it'll arrive. It should be arriving, hopefully, with this next week. Monday will have been a week since it's been in the mail.
Okay, awesome. Well, I mean, I sent my mum a package 2 or 3 weeks ago, next day delivery, and it took like 5 days.
Yeah,
I guess with everything that's going on with COVID-19 and all of that, things are taking longer.
Yeah, and especially like, the U.S. Postal Service for us right now is having its own issues, so that's it may take a few extra days for sure, but it'll
kind way of putting it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Well, time to be doing any of this stuff.
So I took everyone made fun of me. I don't know what I was doing with this. This is like so one of these stands. I like to paint my minis on. These are just like pill bottles. I bought like a bunch of them off of Amazon a while back to like tape down and hold. So these were great to work over and over again. But then this is like a build I took. I don't know what I was planning on doing with this thing. It was I was going to make some sort of ice terrain out of it, and it ended up not getting utilized for ice terrain. So now I've just taken these are like individual dessert cups from like Costco or wherever, but they're glued together, and I was like, well, it's a perfect paint stand for minis, so Anyway.
I did notice you had the most exciting looking paint stand I've ever seen. Yeah, it's just not like it's just not that orange prescription pill jar. It's
I knew I was like, someone's gonna be like, what the heck is that in his hand? And it is the world's most exciting paint mini stand
got the personality
holder.
to it.
It's got all of the personality, 100%. Oh my god!
You said your next crafting video is ice themed. Is that right?
Yeah. Did you see? I don't know if you saw it earlier.
I thought you had icicles, right?
I did. So I have a little. I have like. I again, texture for me in terrain is always fun. Like, what do I mess around with? And this one in particular, I'll hold it up here to the other camera too. Like, the only problem with this way of creating icicle terrain or icicles or ice is it needs all of the hot glue. And it
irony.
it's the irony, right? For sure. It came out pretty good. So here's the toothpicks. I showed them earlier in the stream, but like it's just toothpicks with a bunch of hot glue with the normal Mod Podge with like the whatever this aqua base is, and then a series of lighter blue dry brush and a light white dry brush. But it looks pretty cool when you set that down on the tabletop, and you got your little dudes running around. I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's something that I had fun doing when I built a diorama a long time ago, and I had a blast creating. Or I'm sure I did not invent the wheel with that icicle technique, but it was new to me when I thought of it, and I was like, I got all excited for myself, and I was like, this is a fun way to build a piece of terrain that I didn't have the part for, so I just made it with whatever I had, which was fun. And again, if you find someone out there that has done this icicle technique where you've taken the toothpick and the hot glue, let me know. Send me a link, because I'd love to find that and see what they built with it. I kind of like. Go ahead.
I'm doing a Frostgrave board, like I told you, and Frostgrave takes place in a frozen city, so this is actually pretty perfect for me.
For you? Well, this one I also played around with. So like there's some tips that I cut off, so you can get some like shorter length ones on there. Sure. And then I also like it. What's really cool is you can create these ice walls, basically, or these icicle walls with like small entrances that you can come through. I'll put it down here on the board too, but it looks pretty cool as a form of barricade, or maybe not a lot of cover, but just another way of, instead of just having a fence post, like what is, I'm always thinking of like, if you are out in the middle of, in the wild, so to speak, and you're not in a town, what kind of physical barriers and obstacles might you encounter? And I thought this ice wall or this icicle fence was kind of cool. So it's fun. Like I rushed the build. I've got like wisps all over this thing that are like hanging off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like if I could ever do a build that didn't have a billion glue wisps everywhere, I'll be happy, but that's not the case so far. You can always tell it's my terrain on the board if there's a ton of glue wisps on it. It's mine.
Spider webs.
Yeah, it's spider webs. That's right. They're spider webs. It's random spider webs in the middle of the frozen tundra. That's right.
Then they should be on the lookout for ice spiders. Be ready.
Be ready for those ice spiders. That's right.
It's coming.
Well, is there any future builds that you're planning on right now, Daniel? Like, are you, like you built these bridges, and now you're building 2 of these bridges. Those bridges are amazing.
So,
love those.
I'm looking at some kind of wizard's tower of some kind. That's
cool.
gotta happen. I know Black Magic Craft did his circular playable sort of D&D wizard's tower.
Yes.
And I really like that.
I did too.
I really like that. But now that I sort of made the connection that I can use my bandsaw to do this stuff, I think that's going to be pretty life-changing.
Yep.
There are... Black Magic Crafts uses procs on for everything.
Yeah.
Right, and it's shifting lands. I think makes all the templates for the circle cutting jigs and all of those things.
Yep.
And many of those are just sort of very specific variations of woodworking jigs that have been around for a very long time.
Right.
And so, literally, when I started bandsawing this, I was like, oh my gosh, I could make a circle cutting jig for my bandsaw for this foam. I could do all of that. So I'm hoping to.
You're gonna make one.
Make multiple layers, stack them with some floors on them. Because right now the set that I have for Frostgrave, it's a little too low. I want some dimensionality. I want floors. There's lots of fun things inside of that game specifically where you fall damage and fling people into the air and all of that stuff. And
right.
The more you can create that extra sense of height, the more fun you have.
Nice.
Bullying people. So definitely a wizard's tower.
Oh,
and
that'll
then,
be fun.
I've got a couple of just sort of tiered structures that I want to build. There's another great YouTube channel called Guerrilla Gaming where it's actually where I learned about Frostgrave in the first place, and he uses a lot of aquarium like decorations, and so
are you talking about the stuff like all the scatter you'd put inside like the bases and
yeah, he finds like things that exactly like the big like ancient ruins that people put inside their aquarium so their fish can swim around it.
What is that? What is that primarily made out of? What material is that? Is that like a resin cast that they do with it? Like what is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a resin cast. Like just from my like quick inspections of it, a lot of it I think is like what you call slip cast.
Okay.
Where you have a mold, you pour the thing inside of it, or I guess slip cast or sludge cast, where you like just run it around the outside of that thing, pour out any excess resin, and then demold it.
I see.
So they're all like kind of funky on the inside, but you get the detail on the outside.
Nice.
But having priced that stuff out, that stuff's crazy for what you're getting. People are willing to spend a lot on their goldfish, I guess. I am not.
Is it super expensive? I've never bought any of it.
Yeah, at least I'm also notoriously cheap. So I suppose for several people it's probably a reasonable expense. And I'm like, nah. I'll just use another couple books standing up on their side right now. That'll be the thing. But because I mean that was all of my wargaming terrain when I first started. Was like a box. That's a fortress over there, and this book standing on its edge. That's a tower.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's the way to do it. The imagination. Yeah.
Well, and you have a box of Citadel skulls, right? Is that what I heard? You're using Citadel skulls.
Yeah, I used them. Had them laying around and like laid them down at the base of the entrance of this igloo. I'm like, this will let everyone know this igloo is not occupied by someone who's friendly. This isn't a nice igloo, right? Yeah, the Citadel skulls are always a fun thing to have on hand. It's ridiculous.
Oh, they're beautiful, but you have to like take a second mortgage out to start buying Games Workshop stuff.
Dude, so, they were like, what is that? It was like 30. I think it's like $30 for that box of skulls. Like, it's been cool, and I've used it in a ton of stuff, but like now I find myself like, same thing when I was like, I really enjoyed painting minis, and then I was just like, minis are like you can go down the rabbit hole quick, and before you know it, you could drop $100 on minis easy if you're like trying to like build something for a one shot or a campaign, which is why like a group of us. I also like whenever I can be thrifty. Let's be thrifty. It's like let's just go in. Like 3 of us went in to buy the resin printer, and when we did that, $80 a piece isn't too bad. I was like, that's okay. And now you have mini.
What did you go with?
Oh my God, it's the Anycubic Photon.
I have one of those coming in like 3 days.
it's amazing. You're gonna get a kick out of it. It's really great. It's been great.
Things like that scatter, things like that skull, those little micro details that are difficult to come by. That's kind of what, and obviously minis. That's kind of what I'm hoping to get out of it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. But as far as after running my games for quite a while, I realized that the biggest downfall with minis is always the villains, is always the bad guys. You know, getting a horde of 20 zombies painted is just it's an investment.
It is an investment, and it's challenging. Like I look that's why I was like, the Anycubic Photon will be great, because if we do come up with, very similar, like I said, that this one shot idea that Chris and I had with this little game we want to put together, it was inspired but by very specifically, skeletons, and we're like, that's cool, but we're like, we're gonna need all the skeletons, like we need all the skeletons. So and he was just like, well, time to print the army, and that's where it started. So I'm trying to see if there's another thing too, like, can I as I'm painting these and like what we're envisioning, I was like, man, do I have to like go back and maybe find a way to like add multiple ones together, or you can also just say one skeleton represents and equals like 5 skeletons, you know what I mean, like you can, and have that be just like there's a group of like a group of cobras or a group of bats or whatever, like you could do the same thing, you could build it however you wanted. So I think it'll end up being a fun experience for our players whenever it is we are able to rejoin in person.
Have you ever played with printable minis or tried that at all?
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, I haven't. So I had these not old, but they're like cheapo plastic knights that I buy. So like whenever a student of mine completes a skills proficiency test, the skills proficiency test Daniel knows about, but for everyone else, it's the certification process through the Society of American Fight Directors for actor combatants. The British Society of Stage and Screen Combat has its own system. That's where we stole like many things, we stole it from you guys there in the UK, Michael. We stole like the whole like.
Welcome to steal it. I don't mind.
Thank you. Anyway, whenever students complete this skill, they go through the skills proficiency class with me and they get their certification. I always give them these little knights and plastic figures out as like kind of a little remembrance and thing to remember the class by. It's a cool gift to give to the students at the end. And so I've used those. Like those were my skeletons. Those are my hobgoblins, because I had like a giant bag of them. So those have worked great. So have you used the printable minis before?
It's something I started transitioning to like a month and a half before we got shut down from playing in person. Because I was trying to keep up with getting the minis for this, that. Reaper had been doing great sales and stuff, so I had slowly been amassing my piles of Reaper things. But it was such a drain on my life, and frankly, this is a thing that you would understand. I was in musical season.
Oh, jeez.
So, like we were putting on the musical at the high school, and so that's the biggest time drain on the planet.
Yep.
And so trying to get anything painted while simultaneously doing that was not a thing. So I found a person. They've got a Patreon. It's called Principal Minis or Principal Heroes, I think. And like for example, like I just happen to have a skeleton on my desk. I don't know if that will show up in camera, but
Oh, that's cool. That looks great.
yeah, so it's double-sided little printable minis, and I cover them in packing tape, fold them in half, and in the time that it would take me to paint one mini, I can have 20 skeletons folded, prepped, and ready to go.
Oh,
And we try to paint all of the hero characters. Like if you're a player in the game or somebody who's recurring or whatever, that's going to be a three-dimensional mini. We'll take the time. We'll make that beautiful. But I also don't necessarily have the coin to get the 6 wolves that I want for the
right.
encounter. Right.
Right.
6 wolves that I'm never going to see again for the encounter. And
unless you're like a player and we befriend the wolves and then they come and follow us the whole entire game.
That's super cool. Yeah, that should happen. But I actually recently had in one of my campaigns, I had what were they that were following? There were blink dogs that blink a pack of blink dogs started following the party's rowboat across the side of the river, and they started blinking around the boat, and everybody made an animal handling check. I didn't even think about it. As soon as these dogs came into existence, everybody was like, I want to make friends with that and have it be my friend forever. every animal handling check that could be made was made.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I didn't see that coming.
I love it. That's me. I'm like if an animal, because I'm a dwarf in our campaign. So if it's larger than me, my question is like animal handling. I want to ride it. Like, can I ride it? I want to ride it and like use it to cover, because if I'm mounted, I increase my movement. So I'm all for giving myself that advantage. But everyone always is rolling their eyes at me because I'm like, oh my god, like don't try to ride this. I'm like, oh, I'll try to ride it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
You gotta overcome these little stubby legs, folks.
Yep. We're nearing the end of our session today. It's amazing how quickly time flies during these streams. I have a blast hanging out with everyone. How let's check in. Like, where did you get there, Michael?
I got to the point where I now can start building the dungeon, and I can now actually start building it. So this was like this was the hardest part, I think, and then I'm gonna be. If it turns out the way it is in my head, it's gonna be pretty sweet.
That looks amazing. That's a lot of progress you got today. That's cool, man. Hurry.
I'm actually going to put dungeon tiles in the back of that as well, so you can set it down there.
Nice.
It's gonna be amazing. Well, let's see. How did I get? I mean, I didn't get. I made some progress on these dudes. Like for painting in the dark. I got a lot of the big surface areas. I started to go small, and I was like, I need to go a little bit bigger, so I don't get crazy. It's also the base coat down, so you're gonna go back over it with highlights and washes anyway. So I was like, calm down, it'll be fine. But I got a lot of the helmet done. This I found this really cool purple. This model colors purple. What is this? Royal. It's the royal purple. But I really like, man. If I can paint with purple on my stuff, I love it. But they're coming along. So my skeleton army, as much as I always do whenever we do these live streams, I bit off more than I can chew. But why not? That's all. It's always fun to. They are a lot further along than they were 2 hours ago. So I'll take it. Daniel, thank you for joining us today and sharing your build and your experiences with everything from the your online tabletop experience to all the cool new toys that you're getting for to employ with your students. Those notebooks, holy crap, those notebooks are amazing. I might have to hit you up and I will be your first customer if you sell any of those. Those are amazing.
Well, maybe we're just gonna make it your way. We'll see.
Well,
Thank you for having me. I didn't expect to spend so much time in the stream.
It's easy to do. It's the I'm telling y'all, and I'm gonna try to keep telling everyone else in our community, like, come on here. It's a blast. You get to hang out, talk all things tabletop, and discuss terrain, like the projects and builds. Like, it's an exciting thing. Like, more of this is what I'm hoping we can do. And you are more than welcome to come back anytime, my friend. It was such a joy having you on here.
If nothing else, that's encouragement enough to like find another project. So I gotta knock out another project so I can come show it off.
There you go. That's no joke. And it can be, and everyone's like, I don't know what to, like, it doesn't matter what you're building or working on. Like, you know, your wife makes one of those stained glasses and you're like, I made nothing, but my wife made this. And I'm like, come show it. I don't care. That's the whole point of it, is like, it's crafting and building. So, thank you guys for joining and spending your time, with me and with the rest of the viewers checking it out. If you guys like the stream, be sure to hit that like button, give us a like, and then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notifications. We're gonna be doing these live streams every Sunday. Every Sunday these streams are happening, and if you want to be a part of the live stream, all you have to do is email me at crazycrafterchannel1983@gmail.com. The email is up there on the YouTube channel. Let me know you're interested. That's all I need. Hey, I want to come on and show my build. I will send you the information and the link to get into the chat. It's not hard. Daniel has shown you how easy it is. And then who knows? You're always welcome to stay as long as you want, but be prepared. We are infectious, and we are good people. So you may end up spending your whole morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you may be with us. So thank you again so much, and we will see you guys next week.
Catch you later, guys. I've got to go. So yeah, see ya.
Later, brother.
Nice